everyone. So, welcome to the Coaching Corner podcast. This is the place for coaches to have real conversations. So, I invite people onto this podcast and YouTube just to really understand their journey. And it's people who have been there, who have struggled, who have done that before, who have built amazing businesses off the back of all those struggles and their journey. And they're happy to share them with you so that you can really understand how to move your business forwards as well. So today I'm with Jo Stimson. I always call you Stimson. It's like I'm so used to Simpsons. Stimson.
Yeah, it's fine. Hello.
Oh, good. Jo is a sales mentor for solopreneurs, and she works with coaches who, I love what you said before, Jo, about like telling themselves that they hate selling. That is so interesting, the word like sales as a coach. When you get into a business, or the coaching business, you think, well, I really want to help people. And this is what I've seen before with service-based people um, like osteopaths, physios, like other kind of services, and they really get into it because they want to help people, not necessarily because they want to sell things. So I love that you help people who hate that kind of idea of selling. So Jo, tell us more about like how you came about like doing this. How did you start your business?
Okay, so I've been in sales since I was 13 when my mum and dad bought a very small village sweet shop. So we moved from the east end of London to Kent to a little village sweet shop. And my first job was working in the sweet shop. And then I've done banking and retail and door-to-door selling, you name it, kind of done it. I left the bank ironically because I didn't want to be a salesperson. They obviously saw something that I couldn't see at the time. So fast forward, I exited a business that I was MD, sales director, and part owner of after 20 years in 2022. And flowers was always going to be next for me. So I did my floristry training in my exit period and then quickly realized I didn't want to be a florist because it's really hard work. And the manual side of it wasn't my thing. So I thought I'll set up a business coaching, sales support container for florists. And then I'm in the industry, but I'm not like on the tools. And it became really difficult. After 10 months, I walked away and closed that business down after investing, heavy six figures into it. I, I always say my midlife crisis was building a flower bouquet website and trying to help the floristry industry. It just wasn't the thing. So my coach at the time that I had, as I was exiting and trying to work out what to do, was like, you need something to focus on. Why don't you've coached people through all the leadership and management roles that you've had, but why don't you go and be coached? So it wasn't to be a coach, it was, if you go and do a coaching qualification, you'll be coached multiple times a week. So you'll be able to fast track deciding what you want to do next. So my experience of coaching was coming from the other side of, this is the cheapest way for me to be coached multiple times a week and gain some experience and a qualification at the end. And that's exactly what I did. But through that journey of that 8 months, I just fell in love with it. I was like, wow, what an amazing, thing to do. The curiosity that had been beaten out of me through my 20-year career, I've relearned that skill, to be curious and ask questions. And, I was creating within my own coaching, um, appointments. I was creating my own safe space for me to be curious one to one with someone. And yeah, I just loved it. So yeah, it was a real like journey through to that point of like, okay, well, I know sales, so let's teach sales.
Yeah. Every time I speak to you about your journey or hear more about it, I'm like, I didn't know that about you. It's so
Oh,
interesting.
there's loads more
Like,
bits. We haven't got time for everything.
one of the things that you mentioned about about someone who saw something in you, like maybe they recognized that you would be good at sales. Like you mentioned about that curiosity and but then you mentioned before that you didn't see yourself as a salesperson, but one of the skills of sales, I truly believe, is curiosity and wanting, like being a problem solver, being interested in what's going on with people.
Yeah.
How would you know, like, if you're a salesperson or not a salesperson? What are what do you see as great, like, skills to be able to sell? Because traditionally, when we think of like car salesmen, we might think of like being able to influence people and being a, you know, when they had that saying like being able to sell, was it ice to Eskimos or
The
something
Eskimos.
like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
just makes me think like you're selling things to people who don't necessarily need it or want it. Like, what would you say makes a great salesperson? What type of skills?
I think, you know, sales is a skill. It's not a personality trait. There are natural leans that people have in their personality type, but the main one being that you want to be helpful. 100% believe sales is service. It's not manipulative, it's not selling people what they don't want. And you gave a great example with the car salesman. um but what they're car salesman of the 80s,
Yeah.
very different to car salesman of 2025.
I don't know.
um
I went to buy a car the other day and I found maybe there's not that much difference.
Right, okay. I haven't bought a car for a while. Um, but it's about being helpful and about understanding, where the gap is, because that's the bit that we sell, where someone, their current state is, how they're thinking about that, and then the magic wand moment, what could it look like, future pacing over here. And if what you do helps bridge that gap and takes someone, my words, walk alongside them across the bridge or the path or whatever visual you use. If what you do walks them that journey, and if it walks them that journey quick, then people will pay. It's like going to the gym. People know deep down they're not just going to go to the gym once and the PT's going to go, right, yeah, that's absolutely no problem, take this thing and you'll have the body that you want. People deep down know they've got to do the work, but they don't want to be told when they rock up all the how, because they'll only go once. Well, what do you mean you want me to do all of that thing? I want this future thing. And it's exactly the same with sales. People need to understand that they are the salesperson in their business, because if they're not selling, then who is? So they need to learn the skill. But what people do is run to the end, and they run to this icky, awkward conversation that they imagine they need to have at this point, like a cold call. But you never get to that cold call, because your content, your videos, your networking, what you do to lead generate and market your business answers all the questions that would be done over here. So this is just like this, having a conversation. Do we want to work together? Do I think you can give me what I need? And am I prepared to rock up and do my part of this exchange? Um, so I believe anybody can learn how to sell, but kind of ethically and with intention and good morals, and you know but there'll always be like the car salesman kind of thought process behind it, because that's what people double glazing being the same.
And I think as well, like for me, I just think if you are a good coach, like if you've gone through all of that training and you're used to asking questions, you're used to really listening to what's going on with that person, like reflecting that back to them, really understanding that and wanting to help them, I just think like you will be really great at sales.
Yeah,
Like, I think
I
sometimes
agree.
this pressure of I need to make the sale that then creates this like this version of us that isn't really us. Can turn into like we're doing all of the talking, all of the telling, like we're not really listening to what's going on for that person. And I just see the like discovery call or whatever it is as being just like a coaching conversation, just interested, curious in that person. One of the things that you mentioned before, I felt was really kind of key about like knowing that you've got the right solution for that person and really like believing in your product. And I think when you find like your USP, what makes you different, all of those different things, like what value you can add, and that I just think that really changed the game for me in terms of my sales, like really believing that this is an amazing product that I'm selling. Or even not even that I'm selling, that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I just found that was a game changer. So thanks for mentioning that. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you, because we talked before about the difference prior to the recording starting about like a sales mentor or a sales coach. Like, what is the difference, and how would you know when it's time to hire someone or join a membership that is based around the sales coaching or mentoring?
I think when you get to the point where you just don't know what to do next, because the only thing that is doing the thing that pushes your business forward is doing the thing. But if you don't know what the thing over here is, then you're stuck in this kind of holding pattern. And depending on your budget, and if you're relatively new, you're going to be cash poor and time rich, or cash poor and time poor, because you might still be working. But the way that I operate is there is an element of coaching in what I do in my one-to-one or in my membership, but I'm actually showing people what to do. So I'm teaching, I'm holding people accountable, I'm not sitting back and being that sounding board and that kind of mirror to reflect what they're thinking back at them. I'm kind of stepping over that to a certain extent and being like, okay, it's your business. I call it, driving the bus of your business. You let the people on you want, and you repel the people that you don't want on, and you take people on that journey, because not all money has the same value. Using your point that you said in the beginning, you're like, well, I just need money, and you end up kind of in a bit of a panic, and then you attract the wrong people, and then you find you have to deliver to the wrong people, and then it puts you back because your confidence gets a knock. And
Energy is drained and all
yeah,
of those different
yeah,
things, and then you
yeah,
start
it is.
doubting yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And then the mirrors come up everywhere, making it mean I can't do it, I can't sell, I'm not a salesperson. And I'm like, put the mirrors down. Let's work out what you want to do for you, because if I say to someone, need a video every day for 90 days, some people will be like, no problem. Other people will be like, I'm not working with you because it's
Yeah.
not my thing. So let's find out what you're prepared to do for your business over here, because as I see it, this is your business and you're here, and your main job is you're employed to be the sales manager and the salesperson of your business. So in my one-to-one work, I do parts work. So I play the part of the business. So I sit in the chair and basically ask for what I think the business needs. you know I kind of always ask the question: if your business called you to a performance review today, what would it say in regard to sales? And most people go, oh, I'm probably getting the sack, like I'm not showing up. So my job as a mentor is to play that part. And it is unique in the way that I do it, but I've got 40 odd years of experience that allows me to sit and ask for what it needs. You know, where are the eyes on the business? Where's the offer? Where are you hiding?
Yeah.
You
I,
know, and killer coaching question, where are you hiding in your business?
I
You
love
know,
that. And I love what you said before about like, what are you prepared to do? I think like when I said that, that gave me goosebumps all over. It's like because often like yeah, what are you prepared to do? Just as such a powerful question because it is about, like you said, it's about finding a way that's aligned to you. So are you going to be posting videos every single day? Potentially not. So let's look at something else. However, the what you're prepared to do makes me feel like it is about doing what's aligned to you, but it's also about like pushing yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone because there will be things that you're doing, conversations that you'll be having to have, getting in front of more people in a way that is aligned, but there is stuff that you still have to do to be able to build your business and get the sales in.
yeah, yeah, there is. There's no easy way round it, you know, because the differentiate the differentiator in everybody's business, if you line a load of sales mentors, coaches up, is each other. You know, nobody's got my experience, nobody's run a business like mine, nobody's coming at it with the failure of the flower business and the learnings from that, and you know, the ego knock and the confidence knock and the learning a new skill. Nobody else comes to the table with all of that to go, I really empathize with where you're coming in from. You're leaving a corporate job where marketing and sales was done for you to build a business on your own,
Yeah,
and you are the business. So
yeah,
if you don't want to be, you know, not necessarily front and center, but you have to have you in it,
yeah.
or else why are people going to see you or pick you?
Yeah, and I love your experience because, especially the retail experience, because I've got a retail background as well. So I love that the way that you talk about sales because you bring it to life in a way that people can really understand it. Because when you're like coaching online and you think about I've got my business and I'm this salesperson, it sometimes doesn't feel like a real kind of tangible business, but the way that you describe it is like imagine your shop front, like the retail experience of actually going to the town and think like actually seeing what's in the shop front and like seeing that a sale's on and like what attracts people in that way. And I just love the way that you make it so tangible and real when you're sitting on online like this, like sometimes it just doesn't feel like a business in a traditional sense. So tell us a bit more about like your approach and how you bring your experience into how you talk about sales.
Sales is fun.
It is.
Sales is just conversation. And I think if we can drop all of the I have to's or I can'ts or, you know, and just come to the table as you with the experience that you've got and have that conversation with someone, it, you'll easily work it out whether it's you know going to work out. Going back to the kind of the shop thing, you know, is the light are the lights off in your shop and you're sitting in your car waiting for someone to come and say I want your thing, or is your shop open for business? Are the lights on, the music on? Are you creating this warm environment that people want to come in from? And yeah, I think if you're not having conversations every day, then you've got an expensive hobby and not a business, you know. And the job that you get paid to do for your business is to generate the conversations, whether that's content, whether that's emails, whether that's networking, whatever it is you choose to do. Your whole job, particularly in the beginning, is to start to talk to people. test your idea, get your testimonials, and then move it forward.
Yeah.
But if you come at it like with anything, I don't want to, I can't, learning to swim, learning to drive, raising kids, raising puppies, it's all hard.
Mm.
Building your business is hard. You're just choosing what hard you want to do. And goes back to the what are you prepared to do? What hard are you prepared to pick? And how realistic is the journey that you want to take? Do you want 0 to 60, or do you understand that it's going to be, you know, hard work?
And I love the fact that you're real about that because I see so many people in the industry just talk about like you only have to work like 1 hour a day or 1 hour a week or month or whatever it is, and you can make seven figures and this and that.
Yeah.
Not really showing people the processes, the systems, and everything else that goes into that. So I love the fact that you've been real with that. As a psychologist, some of the things that I really think about are like our mindset and this pressure that we mentioned before about like especially I see people like leave their job and jump straight into their business and not have like any savings or anything like that, and then there's almost like a panic of like I thought it'd be easy but it's not, and now what do I do? Like how what would your advice be? Because as someone who's like I'm constantly working on my mindset, constantly working on my business, and I feel that goes side by side. And I always say like new level, new devil. Like there's always something that comes up at the next level. But when
Mm.
someone is just starting off and they're feeling this pressure, like how do you not then make the conversation kind of turn into this car sales, like almost like because that person's got the pressure, then they're putting the pressure on that person to buy their thing. Like, how do you kind of let go of that pressure or manage that pressure and need to generate the sales, but still be like warm, personable, and like person centered, not like selling centered.
I think if that's the case, and I was that person, I left my business and dove straight in, I would say to someone with hindsight, don't do that. Definitely until you've grown your business to a certain level and you've tested your idea, whilst it's going to be harder work by doing two things, the pressure that you mentioned of diving in. Now, some people are very lucky. They have a big network, they've had their career, and they're basically set up the thing they did for somebody else for themselves. And they may already have a ready audience to buy from them. I see it lots of times. People can set their business up, start making money really quickly because it's just a natural transition.
It's
But if
interesting
you're going,
that because I think sometimes it can look like that. I mean,
mm,
people say to me all of the time, like, oh my goodness, like how quickly the coaching corner has grown, all of this
mm,
stuff. I'm like, hang on a minute, it's like 30 years of
yeah,
experience and making
exactly.
mistakes and all of these different things that has led up to that, but people
Mhm.
don't necessarily see that.
No, they don't, because they're just seeing that moment in time, because it hasn't been online before. All of the networking, all of the relationships, same as me in the electrical industry. That's where I spent 20 years. Nobody knows all about all of that networking and travel and those relationships that lead to the point where, for my consultancy side of my business, that I can go in and I can do that in that marketplace because I've kind of earned my stripes and got the badge. But from a coaching point of view, it's if you're new and you're building an audience, then you need to build the audience, because if you've got nobody to buy from you, if you're not known, and if you're marketing yourself in what I call very vanilla, being nice way, you don't have to be rude or aggressive, but you do have to come out and look different to everybody else, whether that is in your appearance or the way you show up or the way that you talk about it. There has to be some differentiator. So I would say, if it was a client of mine, I'd be like, you need to take the money pressure off now, because all you're going to do is send out signs that
100%.
do not work with me. I am desperate for money. I will take
It
every
changes
man and his
it,
dog.
isn't it?
Just,
It's so interesting
yeah, just
how it
don't.
makes other people feel. Like people can
Yeah,
spot it
they
straight
can.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're inconvincing, because you go from standing strong in your position. This is what I offer, and sales is that. Here's the thing I offer. I'd love to work with you, but I'm in service, and if it's for you, great. And if it isn't, I'm not going to take it personally. Please go and find your person. That's very difficult to learn, but you need to learn that skill really quick. You know, so you then go from that to convincing, and then you start
Mm.
getting a bit argumentative. Well, why can't you see that this is value? And your wording changes slightly. So then people are like, oh, steer clear of them because they're now coming out fighting. But you're
Yeah.
coming out fighting because you're frightened. You're like, all the mirrors are going up. I can't do this. I'm scared.
Yeah.
So take the money pressure off, get a part-time job, go back to work. It's not failing
Yeah.
because it can be both. It's not binary. It's not I
I
work for
I
someone
say
or I
that
work for myself.
I always say that to people. Like, it doesn't have to be black and white. Like, if there was some grey,
Yeah.
what would that look like? It'd be
Yeah.
like, I know when I started off, like, doing bits of consulting, like part-time work, like some guest lecturing spots, all of
Yeah.
these different things, because I think taking that money pressure off is so important. There was a phrase that someone said to me years ago. And it said like it's important to turn up with the what was it, with you or without you energy. And
Yeah.
I just
I've
love
heard that. Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It is.
it changes everything once you take that money pressure off. You can show up like that and bring that energy to it that people then want to be part of and in your environment more.
Exactly. And it's down to you if you choose to tell people. Some people will want to say, things aren't moving quick enough. So I've gone to do this because that's how they want to relate to their audience. They want to take them on the journey and show all of the things. But it's only your business. So if you don't want to tell people that you're also doing, evening slots in Tesco's and, being a part-time PA for somebody else, then you don't have to tell them, because the business can still be represented in the same way, because it's about you.
And
You
I
need
think
to do the thing that keeps you sane.
And I think as well, it's about the ethics around that as well,
Yeah.
because you don't want then dissonance to come in, which I've seen with people where they feel like they're talking about being in your business full time and they can help you and all of these things, and they're not doing it themselves. And then they feel this like disconnect. So it's like it needs to feel aligned, the message that you're sending out, as well as the actions that you're doing,
Yeah.
even if you're not sharing that with people, because
Yeah, 100%.
you will feel that even if other people don't know that, and then that will show up in your sales and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, because you'll feel like you're holding something back. So the real you won't show up because you're like, oh, don't hope they don't ask me that question. A bit like running to the end of a sales conversation. Or what if they ask me this? Well, they probably won't ask you that. So why are you worrying about it? If they ask you it in the call and you can't answer it, then just say, that's a really interesting question. Can I come back to you on that? There's always a get out of jail free card. But
Always.
people, just get fixated on, and that's human behavior. That's human nature. And the minute you add sales or selling
Yeah.
into that sentence, then it freaks people out.
It's really interesting how things are framed because I know when I studied a lot around positive psychology and strengths coaching and then went on to be a master strengths coach. And once I found out my strengths and what energizes me, and one of them is relationship building, I was like, well, how can I reframe what I need to do in my business in line with my strengths instead of seeing it as something totally different? So
Mm,
sales and networking used to be for me, I framed it as I need to influence people to buy what it is that they don't want. And then when I reframed it as to I'm adding value, I'm solving problems, and I'm building relationships, I'm like, oh my goodness, I love doing this.
mm. Yeah, it's, right. It's the
Yeah,
same thing. It's just, but that's all sales is. You're
yeah,
not, I had a client and she was so worried about buying a car because she didn't want to be pressured by her view of sales. And by the end of our time together, she came on the last session to say, "Oh, I've got something to tell you. I bought a car." And I was like, "What do you mean you bought a car?" And she was like, "Well, you made me brave and courageous and all the usual stuff that I hear." And I was like, "So what was that experience like?" I said, "Was it the pushy that you thought?" And she was like, "No." He just went, "This is what this one does. This
yeah,
is what this one does. If these aren't right, let me know and I'll go and find another one." And she was like, "It completely changed my view of, I said, so they didn't put like his hand in your bag, take out your credit card, and like try to rip you off or force you, into a decision." And she was like, "No." She said, "Because I understood what he was trying to do
yeah,
and he was there to help." And I was like, "And that's all you're trying to do. Is just say, I can see where you're at. I've got something that can help you. If I'm the right person for you, amazing. Let's do it together. I'd love to help. But if I'm not, it's not about me.
yeah.
It's them making their own decision." And again, that's the point where all the mirrors go up. I can't sell. I'm not a salesperson. Nobody wants to work with me. The minute that there's a no in that chain of things that need to happen. And exactly as you said, that with or without me energy is that mindset shift. And the quicker that can happen, the quicker people will make sales and make money.
Absolutely. And I would just question, like, if you're calling yourself, I'm not, or if you're saying I'm not a salesperson, like, how many times have you spoken to your friend about an amazing book that you've just read? Like, oh, I've just read this book. It's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. You've got to read it. It's going to change your life. Like, literally. And you believe in that book. Like, you are selling that book because
Yeah, you
they will
are.
ultimately buy it.
Yeah, you are. Same as your clothes, cinema,
Yeah.
bands, music, anything, you are doing the sales on behalf of that thing for sure. So if you can mirror your business with the same and going back exactly to the point that, you've said a couple of times, is being aligned to it and not trying to sell something just because your coach tells you, well, that's what you could sell. Just go off and do that. Charge £500, go and do that. You only need 10 of them. You got 5 grand a month. How many times do you hear that? And it's like, okay, that doesn't sound too hard. 10 people, £500 a month. But the reality of it is, hang on a minute. I've got to find 10 people that I don't know to buy something that even I'm not convinced about.
And
You
not
might,
even
just
10,
don't
and not
bother.
even 10 people. When you think about
Yeah.
the conversion stats, you got to find like 100 plus
Yeah.
people. Um,
Okay. And you've
so
got to do a lot of showing up and a lot of, you've got to spin all the plates and do all the things. And if you're not naturally not extrovert, because most coaches are kind of extroverted, introverted introverts, because they like that quiet time and that, thought process. But you have to talk about it,
I
you
love what
know.
you said before about that, like talking can mean very different things. So in
Mm,
your content, in your podcast, and like your website, face-to-face networking, like it, whichever way is aligned to you. So I love that you said that. When you said about what other like sales coaches might then tell people, um, like what is different? So you've got your membership, you've got your one-to-ones that you do with people. So tell us what's different about like how people would work with you, and also just we'll finish off with like how can people find out how to work with you?
great. So from a one-to-one point of view, I tend to do everything in 90-day blocks because 90 days is enough time to take someone from where they are closer to where they want to be, and it gives you enough data to be able to review to decide, on day one, here's the things I'm going to do, here's the lead generation, here's the marketing, here's the what I'm prepared to do, and then basically I'm there beside them for that 90 days, nudging them forward and holding them accountable, so that every week or fortnight, depending on what they need, that we meet, it's okay based on what you said you were going to do, how have you got on, what's working, what's not, what needs tweaking, so that I believe if somebody learned my 90-day plan and they ran 4 of those back to back over the course of 12 months, their business would look completely different because they would show up for it in a different way. So that's kind of, I teach that framework. People don't buy methodologies, they don't buy frameworks, they buy outcomes. But so being brave and courageous and making a start in a supported way, they can do it in 2 ways with me. They can do it one to one, but one to one can be very confronting because you've got to come and tell me you haven't done the thing. So it's for people that want to make the change. And then the membership, mentorship container that is sales only, people don't need another membership. And I'm very consciously not building it in a way that it is a conventional membership. So there is sales school that is on a Monday where people that are new to sales get taught, ideal client, or what's different types of content, and then 2 sessions a week where either hot seats or masterclasses or Q&As, but they also have access to me all around that time. So what I see a lot in the market for a lower cost option is you can only get access when you're in the session.
Yeah,
Whereas I'm like, no, if a session's on a Wednesday and something happens on a Thursday morning, I don't want you to have to wait until the following week to solve it, because by the time you get back round to that session, you've been like a Tasmanian devil and you've talked yourself in and out of your business 1,000 times.
yeah,
Whereas if you could message me and just go, this has happened, or I've just seen that, got this email, how can I respond? Then I'm very much doing in my membership that walking beside people,
yeah,
because I understand where they're coming in from. So I'm lucky that my consultancy side allows me to do a lower cost membership at £59 a month. But it's a bit like you pay for your IT support and your business insurance. This is the same, but for sales. And without sales, you don't have a business. So I think it's worth paying for that insurance policy of something's happened and I don't know the answer, um, from someone who's got 40 odd years of experience and can get you moving again. The
so when
people that are
you
in it.
I love the way that you like have your analogies and the way that you liken that to like you pay for this on a monthly thing as part of your insurance. When you said that you're available like outside of the calls, I just had this image of someone picking up the phone and saying, "Joe, I've got a problem," and you're like an IT solution person saying, "Switch it off, then on again."
Yeah, exactly.
Love that
Go
you're
for a walk, have a coffee, and come back.
love that you're on hand for people. That is like I see that as being very different to a lot of things that I've come across. So that sounds absolutely brilliant, Joe. So what we're going to do is put your details on the description of this podcast
Thank
so
you.
that people can find you. Anything that you think that we haven't covered that you'd like to end on?
I would just say, that sales isn't doesn't need to be scary or pushy or icky or awkward. And you and I both know, you more than me from a positive psychology point of view, but I did do it in my course, that your brain doesn't know what's true. So the more you're telling yourself, your narrative is, I'm not a salesperson, I can't sell, then the way you think about sales is a direct reflection of the results that you're getting.
Absolutely.
So if you're sitting in this place, then let me help you drop that,
Mm.
take a breath, learn some skills, and watch your income start to rise with confidence, knowing that I'm there beside you for as long as you need me to be there.
I love that. And
Yeah.
what you said before about when you said sales isn't all of these things, my mind went to, well, what is it then? And I love that phrase that you use, like sales is fun. Or sales can be fun. It's about finding out how to make it fun. And I think one of the things for me, like with your membership, is the idea of being able to do it with other people might make it even more fun, like learning
Yeah.
from other people as well and having
Yeah.
you on hand. That's absolutely fantastic. So
Mm.
thank you, Joe, for joining
No,
us.
thank you. It's been great.
And we'll probably do another episode soon. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Lots.
Always up for a chat about sales, no problem.
Thanks, Joe. Take care.
You too. Take care.